Okay, we are now live. I'm gonna give David a call. First, I'm gonna post on Twitter. Gotta retweet a few things. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, David. Hold on. Let me get your Skype thingy image. This is David, by the way, everyone. We'll just sort out how to add him in the bottom right corner.
Hello.
I think this should be it.
It's me.
Okay, there we go.
I'm watching the lag stream from however many seconds ago. There's me stretching. Okay. All right.
All right, everyone can let us know how the audio levels are. I think David should be coming through pretty clearly. So
Yeah, I apologize in advance if I'm muffled or I cough at all. I'm a little bit sick, but otherwise, excited to be here.
Yes. All right. Brett Hudson says who, and luckily we can't catch anything over the stream. So, yeah. Anyway, so huge thanks to David for being here. So, for those of you that don't know, David has been working on this game since April of this year.
Yeah. That sounds right.
And kind of brought on to do. Sort of a number of things: programming, optimization, PS4 port. I don't know if tools was one of the things we specifically talked about, but that sort of has become a major part.
Yeah, that's definitely most of what I've been doing lately. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of falls into the work of optimization and stuff because a lot of optimization processes is about how do you cut down the tedious task and then not only optimizing the game running but also the workflow, right? So
yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
what are we going to show first?
So I was thinking what we could talk about. Well, now that I've got Skype, so Skype's a little tricky. Well, I was thinking we could go over the window generator, and what I would do first is talk about. Well, I would show first how I used to build them. The windows. So let me disable those rule wrap manager. We don't need it right away. So before we, so this is kind of a what you see here is a very typical window in Manifold Garden design, and so let me show you guys how I would build it. So first I'm using Pro Builder, which is a really wonderful tool. That kind of does this isn't brush based, but it basically lets you kind of do a lot of modeling inside of Unity. And what I really like about it is just the way it does scaling, which is different than the way Unity does it. You know, because the way Unity scales outward, but this way I just drag a face. So you know, I'll be like, okay, this is, let's say I want a window that is, and I can see the size of it. Down here. So let's say I want a window that's 40 by 20. Right, so we get this size. Right, and then what I would do is I'd bring it out where I'd first color code it using the vertex color in Pro Builder, just so I can kind of see what's different. And then I would start going this. You know, I drag this face. Be like, okay, well, how do I want this window to be designed? Eventually, I would do stuff, you know, where I would only design half of it and then duplicate the other half over. So I do stuff like this. You know, let's say move this up. Bring this piece over, and so you know, I'd color code the horizontal and vertical pieces to be different. Bring this one over, stuff like, and then after all of this, right? So once this is done,
I never actually saw this process.
Oh, really? Huh.
No, but just watching this, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, and then so see what happens sometimes is like Pro Builder.
Like, it makes sense, right?
Sorry, what was that?
I think you just cut out. I was saying, yeah, no, like watching this now, it's just been like, oh man, I'm glad we have the new way.
Yeah, and the thing is, Pro Builder does that thing. I don't even know how to describe it, but where it gets on the wrong offset.
Like the ProGrids thing kind of.
Yeah, the
something.
like if you get it in like 2.75, you end up getting it not lined up on the same grid, which is always annoying. And then I'd have to like tweak this. Anyway, you can see now this is like slightly gone into this one, and then of course I would, you know, then I have to make the windows, right? Which is, so first I color this so I know, like, and then I name it glass. And I, you know, drag it down here. Well, I first, you know, copy it, duplicate it, bring it down here, drag this face. You know, eventually at some point I'd fill up this entire grid with a pattern. I'd come back, and what I would do is I would, you know, disable these other pieces, click on each window face, select everything, deselect the outside faces, delete the inside faces, select the outside faces again, and then apply the material. So, you know, Pro Builder had a shortcut for that. And the worst part of it was if I wanted to make a change, let's say it was like, actually, you know, you build the entire window and you're like, I actually would like this to shift slightly over. I'd have to like redo this window. You know, I'd have to redo this piece, the whole thing. It was just absolutely painful. And I want to show you guys now what David, this tool that David wrote. I don't even know how it works, but so that would easily take an hour to make, at least. And the problem was, once I made it and I wanted to make a change, they're like, you know, it would need another hour for any small changes. So let's open up Perforce. What is it? So
I also have like a breakdown of how it works also on my end. Like when I was writing it, I made sure to like, there's like a bunch of steps that the algorithm goes through, and then like, so I have like snapshots of every step.
Oh, cool.
If that's something you want me to show.
Yeah, I'd love to. So let's do let's just call this Pro Builder Window 1 Room 2. And so basically what's going on here is David made it so I've just basically have to have a grid. So we'll show grid. I haven't used this tool in a while, but I believe every tiny block is, so the thicker lines, that's 1 unit, and the thinner lines, that's like 0.25. So we do it on a 0.25 grid. So these 2 blocks, that means it's a 0.5 grid. And feel free, if you're in the chat, to ask questions anytime. Yeah, so and I believe the way we do it is, if it's gray, then it's that's drawn this frame. If it's white, it's going to do a glass. And if I wanted to, and I put black, it is going to actually just
be empty.
It's just going to be empty. So they're actually, and it's actually pretty useful because sometimes you'll want a door down there. And I thought that was actually kind of cool because I didn't think about that. I would have just done it. I would have like made 3 pieces around the door. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out this piece in the bottom corner just to show you guys for demonstration purposes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool, and then we're going to have David show us how it's made. So I believe Control-Shift-W brings up the window generator. You can see up here
in Unity. Yeah.
In Unity, and then what I need to do is go to my window, so that's my, and I select this one, Um, it takes a little while to load, but you'll see that window. Ooh. Looks like we lost David. Let's call David and get him back online. Anyway, so while we try to get David back on the air, we did that tool, and you can see now we've basically generated the window this way. So, and not only that, it's also automatically made into a prefab. Where is it? Right, so it's saved it out as a model. It's put inside the window folder as a prefab. So yeah, so that means that I can continue dragging it in. Otherwise, if you just use this, sometimes you only get stuff that's saved inside the scene. So let me, yeah, this is in here, and you can see that this part has actually gotten cut out. So unfortunately, David just sent me a text, and the internet has died at the co-op space where he is. So there is currently a thunderstorm happening in Chicago. So he's no longer with us on the air. But anyway, well, we got this wonderful window tool that he made, which is really good. So you can see this part got cut off. We can do FaceTime, but I don't know. So I'm just texting David right now. We'll just do this another time. Unfortunately, we do have a storm happening in Chicago right now. So David's internet has completely died. That's okay. So I don't, because I would like to. The problem is we could call him, like, but yeah. Right, so there's a, oh wait, I think it's back on. Oh yeah. Hey, David. Hey. Wait, guys, we're good. Don't leave. Hopefully nobody's left yet. Okay, in that case, maybe we should do let's not do video. Yeah. Okay. So oh, sorry, David, you were on mute the whole time before, but can you just let everyone know you're back?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. Hello.
Yeah, he is courtesy of Young Horse's Wi-Fi. Young Horse's made Octodad, so everyone go buy Octodad on the phone, which just came out. Yeah, they're actually in Disneyland right now, so let's steal their Wi-Fi. So anyway, great to have David back. He is on the air. So anyway, I was just showing everyone we got this tool working, and do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'd talk about it. I'll see if I can screen share. Maybe would that be risky?
Yeah, well, let's try. Let's try. You know.
Okay, so I'll share screen.
Meta DVB says hi, David. By the way, Brad Hudson says woo.
Hey everyone, hello. I wish I could be in the chat and stuff, but the internet is a fickle thing. Okay.
Okay.
So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what I have here is let me actually go through.
So we are currently screen sharing with David. We're looking at David's screen through my stream. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So here is an example.
Can you move the Skype thing?
Yeah. You don't want to look at your. I'll screen share with you. Okay. So this is an example. This is what I was testing with when I made the window generator. So again, white space means window. Anything but means or there's a slight like threshold across, but basically gray means frame and black means empty, so that again you could put doors and other things in there. And so this was like the pixel art door that I was working with. And so what was interesting about, I think this was my favorite, this was like the first big tool I made for you, right? I think.
Yeah, I think because there was definitely one of the most painful parts of me, like painful parts of making a level.
And this was probably still my favorite thing that I've made, just because it's like the way that it like works is so it feels like a binary success. It's like it either worked or it didn't, and it works and it's fine, and it's like it doesn't break ever. It's just like very simple in how it like what it needs to do. But it took me a while to wrap my head around how I wanted to do it.
I think when we talked about it at the beginning, we weren't even sure if it was possible.
Yeah, it was just like I wasn't. I don't. It was one of those things where I'm like, maybe we can do this. I think I can probably figure it out. Just because I hadn't really tackled a ton of procedural mesh stuff, or like just like mesh generation and the math behind some of that stuff, and logic. So okay. So the first thing I do is like I can almost break it down into the processes that you showed, right? So like the first step is essentially generating this frame. And so basically I just go through and look for all of the gray, right? Inside of the picture. And then there's an algorithm that I wrote to basically break it into detecting different chunks or groups. Because the other part of this is making it pretty much the most optimized version of the mesh possible as well. Like you don't want to have just, like when I was first making this, I could have just made every single pixel just a cube, right? And then just applied the material to the face of the cube. That would have been garbage as far as like, it would be a fine like first step, but like it wouldn't, I used that, and you'll see in a moment, I used that for debugging the algorithm. But it wasn't going to work long term as far as actually creating something that could be in the game. So actually, I added in, as you can see, this was an edge case I wanted to test for, because this is a weird case where you have like a really weird shaped mesh for the glass to generate inside here. Like, so notice that this glass is going to end up having to be 4 separate quads. And let me know if I'm speaking in, like, if I go to an end where like you haven't discussed something on the stream where I'm like confused.
No. So like MA Meta DVB has a few questions. So so we're basically reading the pixels and generating the mesh.
Correct.
Right. And is it all quads, or in Unity do you need to generate collision block lists also? Meta DVB does not know Unity.
Okay. We don't do collision. I think we just throw a mesh collider on.
Oh, right. We just have one box collider for the entire thing. Yeah.
And then, I mean, if there's a door, then there's like, maybe we use a mesh collider to like make sure that it, or like we break it down into boxes, like sub boxes. So like going around this door, right? Like there'd be a big box, another big box, and then there'd be a tiny box like right there. You know?
Right. Let me just take a quick screenshot to post on Twitter. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Okay, so the next step in this, so you can see the similarity, but what I was saying was, if there's any other questions too, please interrupt me. I don't have the chat up, just because Twitch is taxing on my weak Wi-Fi. So basically, I wanted to be able to account for these weird edge cases where you can see this would require at least 4 squares to fill up this entire section. There's this big one that's like a 2 by, so that this is 2 units wide here. There's like 7 by 2 or something like that. There's the sliver piece here. There's another piece here and another one here. And I had to think about, like, technically, how did I want to break up these quads? Like, this could have been a quad.
Right.
Like, I could have gone left to right, but I realized that top to bottom ended up making the most sense. So, like, trying to group these top to bottom adjacent chunks. So there's 1, 2,
I see.
2, 3, and 4.
And how do you do that? Like,
if I go to the next,
do you just sort of go from left to right, and then if the top part stops, then you go up until you hit a
So check it. So what I do first is I break it up into strips. So there's you can see this like rainbow vertical strip generation thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what this is this is the first pass of the algorithm. And again, the nice thing about this tool is it doesn't have to work at runtime.
Right. So it doesn't have to work at runtime
right now. So if you look at this, you can see the frame is missing. It's just ignoring because the glass is the more technical part.
Right.
So I start in the top left and I just go straight down until I hit either the end of the texture or I hit a frame, and then I that's a group, and then I store that somewhere. I just like save that off, and so I do that for the entire thing first. So you can see that it generates a single strip for every possible like vertical region, right?
Right.
And so
I see, yeah.
So each one of the different color means that it's like all of those pixels for every one, like that color section, those are all associated with each other. So like these 3 pixels up here, whatever, this purple chunk is one, this tan one, the green one, the red one, those are all like internally in their like own list of like, these pixels are a little group, like a little cluster.
Right.
And so the next pass after I get through that is I look at a group and then I see, hey, are there any other groups? Like, so I have all these groups in a list, and then I say, hey, go through the groups and say, do I have any adjacent pixels to another group?
Let me just stop you right there. Like when you when you do the order, is it are we going like left to right across the screen? You know, how do you?
Yeah.
So like it's.
I think I do top to bottom, like left to right, like left and top. So like it'll go down. I believe it would do this.
Oh, I see. So it knows that the one next to it is in the. I think. Okay, I see. Got it.
So again, none of them know about each other yet. They're just basically like just walking down, and once it hits either an empty spot or the edge of the texture, then it stops. And then it like ties that off. And so what I do next is I go like I basically would grab this group.
Yep.
And I say, hey, are there any groups next to you or any groups that share an adjacent pixel? And so and this is where this edge case comes in. Because in this case, this does have adjacent pixels, but these are going to have to be part of a separate quad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for a group, so like for a strip to join another strip, they have to have the same vertical dimension.
Right.
So all of these have the same vertical dimension, and they're basically their top left, like their top pixel and their bottom pixel have to be the same.
What do you mean the same?
So what that looks like, so like this is like 0, 0, right? And this is like 1, 0, and this is like 0, 3, and this is 1, 3.
Oh, you mean the top and the bottom, their Y position has to be the same.
Y positions. Yeah, need to be the same, and then and they're all strips, so like I can assume that everything in between when I go to test that is already connected.
Right, but how do you know the
individual strips?
So like I see in the by the way, hello Jet user, welcome. Yeah, we're talking about the window generator for those of you that are just joining us. David is explaining how he figures out how the glasses in the window. We take it from an image, and how do we figure out their group? So in the top row, I see 3 chunks, right? 3 pieces of glass that are the same. Yeah, and they have the same Y. They have the same height.
These.
No. The 3 kind of in the middle, like
These.
Yeah. No. So there's like
Or there's 4.
Okay, like let's say in that very top row, there's like 3 groups, right?
Yeah.
There's like the first group that has 6 strips.
Yeah.
The second group that has 4 strips in the middle. We ignore the super long ones, right? And then on the very right side, we've got another group with 6, right? So if we're just comparing the top left and bottom right corner and their Y positions, how do we know that these are 3 separate groups?
Because each one goes through and says like, hey, I'm gonna let me hold on a second. Basically, this one's like, hey, go through all the groups and see if I have any adjacent ones to me, and if I do, then like add them to like my associated
I see
clusters. And so then it keeps walking dependencies too.
Got it.
So like so it goes through and like is able to identify like a sub-quad group, I think is what I'm looking at the code right now. It's super, there's just loops everywhere. Because it's basically just doing multiple passes over this image. So there's like a point group, and then like this is a point group, and then there's like a list of points, so it's just like groups of groups and everything. So basically these groups find that like, oh, once I'm friends with this one, I'm associated, and now whenever I go to test with this one, oh, this one's associated. And so once we get to here, it hits an empty spot, and it knows that there's never anything else. It's already basically been chained to these, and then this basically makes it an island, and it will never find another neighbor.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the next step then is it finds all those groups, and you can see the frame, but in between the frame you see it creates the quads.
Right.
So like you could see those 4 quads I was talking about, and this is where that the same starting Y and ending Y position, what edge case, I wanted to make sure this algorithm took that into consideration, because you hit things like this or even this, right? Because like for a second it was like, oh, this needs to be.
Hello? We are having some internet issues. I think. Okay, we can't hear you anymore. Ugh. It's a storm. Very bad. Just told them. Let's see if I can. He was just getting that was just getting exciting. I was like, oh man. But yeah, this is actually the first time I'm learning about the tool. Yeah. Such a shame. By the way, this is Trinket Tom is in the studio. We might end up going with So I think it's not so much the specific software. It's more there's a storm happening in Chicago right now. Oh man, MetaDVB worked at Skype. So 2% better. I actually can't try. I'm actually not even on the latest version of Skype because it keeps crashing for me. So. I think he might just be. We'll wait. We'll wait for David to, catch up. I'm sure he's just, but that's I mean, whatever is happening there with the window generator, it's just been so great for me, right? And because I can make, if I'm like, I don't really like this. I want to make this a little bit. If I want to move this over, I can just, like, Photoshop is really great for editing pixels on this level, right? And so it's like I can do all this stuff here, and the window is always sort of this pattern that's extrapolated. So to go from this, does the window generator, I just have the full, let me see if he's, okay, I think he's back. David, hello.
Okay, so yeah, there's a storm, which is part of the reason. It's like not,
you know what's so funny is I don't think I ever, that, like, storms never affect me down in Hyde Park. I think because I'm guessing because they always, but I think maybe because they come from the north side. I don't know, maybe with the way the lake is, I think the north side maybe gets hit a little bit harder. Anyway, David is back. We'll
hello again.
Try to go through this. We might just do the window generator today since it seems really big. I don't think we'll get to the lines yet, but yeah. Do you want to bring up your screen?
Sure, I'll try to.
And
Casey, okay.
Sinja says, "Don't worry, we're a patient bunch. Everyone has been very nice."
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry again.
Yeah, we'll make sure we do it another day when it's not raining.
And maybe I'll use my home internet or something because this building sometimes goes in and out.
So actually, no, David's example, the gray area is solid. No, so solid is frame. Gray is frame. Black means there's nothing, and then white means glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see my screen again?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and I was just wrapping up this section. As you can see, there's like 3 quad groups, and because these X and Y's don't match, they technically need to form a different rectangle for a quad. And so once I have this, then I'm basically good to go, where then I'm able to generate, or like just throw materials on it and come up with this, right?
Right.
And I also have examples where this was a different, I had this one, there we go. So I just did some like way more intense designs, and so or ones that I thought would be just to try and brute force some stuff. So in this picture that I made, you can see all the frame quads that get generated, and then same with the windows. You can see that it knows that these are all groups.
Right.
Again, because these are all like 1 pixel groups, and then it's just a wide single quad inside of there. And so, that's a step-by-step through the algorithm. Hopefully that made sense. It took me a while to realize that the column strips and then associate them strips together, and then the secret sauce being the X and Y matching. That was once I had that together and I just got that out of my head, it was pretty much done at that point.
One point is, I remember when we originally first wrote this, we were on the 0.5 grid first, and then I remember I was like, well, the problem there is then if I have a column that I want to put in the middle, it needs to go between 2 of those columns, so we switched to the 0.25, and I remember you saying that there was you weren't too sure if that was going to cause some problems. Is that because of the, because you're doing 2 columns at once, or
I think it had to do. I forget. I'm trying to remember. This was in May. Like this was.
Yeah, this was a
like,
while ago.
It was like beginning of summer. I'm trying to remember what the concern was. I think it was that I might have hard coded in, like I might have just got it working and like was hard coding in the like thickness for like how to test and generate like the what was it? It might have just been that the mesh was potentially going to be. I think it might have had to do with UVs. I was having issues with those, but I mean it works, and I just had to get over myself and do it.
Right.
I think I was just like, it works, and it was like it wasn't terribly brittle, but I don't think it was like properly doing some stuff, like or could properly expand based on the frame size. But I think I made it a bit more flexible after that.
Right.
And made it allow that. So.
And then with the two questions. One is, so the black part where you don't draw anything, you just don't generate a quad.
Yeah, there's
right.
just nothing there at all.
What about for the windows? Because it seems like the windows have their interior faces deleted. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah. How is that? Because we were actually, that's kind of we're talking about making that like glass shortcut step.
Yeah.
Today isn't that the same thing?
Yes. So well, I don't use Pro Builder functions in this. Like I know.
Oh, I see. I see.
I'm going to ask permission for you. Do you mind if I show code?
Yeah. No. Show the code. Show away.
Okay. So here, let me get to this. Okay, the create quads. Blah is this big garbage thing. But creating a mesh, I just have this. I think instead of duplicating, I just have this like shitty. Is it class or is it not? Like.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, especially if I know that like the tool's kind of like.
Oh, so you're just generating two quads for the glass, and one is offset.
Yeah. So if it's glass, it's these two quads. Otherwise, you have a whole cube to make, and then
could you just zoom into the code a little? Make the yeah. Hello, Andy James Adams. We're currently talking with David Laskey.
Oh, hey, Andy.
For those of you who are new, by the way, everyone, if you enjoy the stream, you should follow this channel. For those of you that are new, we're talking to David Laskey. He's been working on this game as a programmer, and we're talking about this window generator tool that we've got. So this is the code that creates the mesh.
Yeah, so this is the mesh generation. So again, this is like my lazy way of I already had all the points for like generating a cube, and I was like, I don't want to do this again. So I just added this stupid, is it glass, and it's used like.
Oh, and then it just does it twice and offsets it?
Yeah, so here, if there's like an array of vertices, and if it's glass, the vertices get initialized to being the two quads.
Right. Got it.
It's the 6 quads that form a cube. Same thing with triangle strips. And for those who aren't, you talked about triangle strips in your like when you were going over like doing the line generator, right?
I mean, but Unity. Oh no, wait, that's right. It does. Yeah, you do need triangle strips. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, these are the vertices required to make a quad, and then each quad, again, because Unity and most engines use triangles to render, so each quad consists of 2 triangles, and a triangle is comprised of the array indices of the vertices. So 0, 3, 1 is 0, 3, 1, which again, I have those calculate. Like I just have those variables set up here. And this was just a lot of like, there's a thing called winding, so this order matters. Right. So if I change the order, the face might change direction.
Yeah, it's like if you do clockwise, the normal is one way. If you do counterclockwise, the normal is the other way.
So it helps you display what is the front, what is the back. That's what it indicates. So again, here's the triangle strips. And the only difference in all these is just like based on whether it's class or not, it does different sets of normals, UVs, but it's powered by the same data. It's just I'm ignoring most of it if it's glass because we only have 2 faces.
Right.
And then you just throw the mesh together, you assign all of the values. I just create a new game object and put a renderer on it and assign the mesh.
Got it. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and then it's sort of pretty simple for us because then it's, that we actually just put one giant box collider that contains the entire window, including the glass and the frames, because it's always
Yeah.
sort of used. So we're doing stuff that's very specific to our art style and asset pipeline.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm trying to look at this, the algorithm for generate window, just to briefly like see if we can get a code recap.
This is this a MetaDVB asks, is this a plugin to the Unity editor? I mean, I guess it could be like
Technically, it could be.
Yeah.
I wanted to do some kind of thing because it'd be really neat to like even just make a game based off of like drawing, like someone could draw.
Yeah.
And then it just generates like the, I don't know, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's sort of super specific to generating windows for Manifold Garden.
Luckily, it's specifically the way it like reads the texture for like those values or whatever is specific. But I'm sure you could set it up to where you say like, hey, this color range on grayscale or these colors equal this type of mesh, and then you group it all by those types of meshes and etc. But yeah, so basically you can see here, this is me just loading the like, hey, give me a texture.
Right.
This is just going through the X and Y, or the Y and then X of the texture. And this is what I was saying, like, so if it's grayscale 1, which means it's white, I believe that means it's glass. If it's greater than 0, that means it's the frame. And then if it's anything else, it's just going to get ignored.
Right.
So, yeah, you can see me doing like glass groups. If there's already a group, like I'm just going through and it's like, oh, there's a group that contains, it looks at all the adjacent pixels, and if it finds, if those are valid and it finds the value of that left pixel in another group, then it'll add itself to that group.
Got it.
So it'll be like, hey, if it found, like, oh, if it's left group, find one that has the left group and then add it to that. And if it exists, then we add ourselves to that group. Otherwise, we create a new one, and then, again, it continues.
Right. Just to answer quickly, MetaDVB asked a question. So this code, we actually have it, if Unity has a folder called editor, and you want to put all your editor scripts inside there, and that just makes it like an editor tool. Like that's kind of how Unity handles editor extensions.
This is literally just, so editor, old relativity name, tools, window generator. That's all that it is in Unity. There's no, I mean, it refers to certain materials. Like I use a certain material to put on it, but otherwise all this code is like, it's just, the whole tool is just in this one script.
Can you tell us how long did this take? I think it was like about a week or two.
It was about a week to get it like working, and then I think it took me another week to make like the UVs were really throwing me.
The UVs, like how the material. Why would the UVs get weird?
It was weird because they it had to do with where do I set up UVs? It has to do with this. It just took me a while to realize. It was because the prototype, the Pro Builder prototype material.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure those units were consistent with the rest of the scale of the game.
Right.
And so that was the part, like making sure that it was on scale, and that it applied in like the proper direction and stuff like that, so that it was actually useful information.